Alright, what's up guys? Back for part 2 of MCOC off-season meta. And this one I'm going to talk specifically about Master Alliance Essentials. And what I mean by that is kind of just some tips I learned and I think are the most important things you should take into account when competing in high-tier alliance wars. So again, what I'm doing here is I'm going to have some Alliance War gameplay in the background, and these are just a couple of the wars that I didn't upload. Basically, either I forgot to record some fights, or uh, I only had one or two fights, so I didn't want to upload the entire war. As I said in some of my previous videos, I was on vacation, so missed missed a couple recordings, so didn't even bother uploading full war videos for those. But this is also an opportunity for me to show you that gameplay if you're still interested. And for each of these wars, I do call out who our opponent was and the node. So if you want to look it up and if that's something you're interested in, you can go ahead and watch that, or at least do some research and see what those nodes were. Anyways, on to the meat and potatoes of this video, what I want to call out. First thing, or my first suggestion for competing in high tier wars is to record your fights. I mean, I'm doing this anyways because I like to upload videos, but even if you don't intend in uploading any videos, I think the biggest thing that I've learned in doing this is I get to watch myself uh, take on these specific fights 3 times minimum. Like I'm watching my fights over and over again, and I can see where I make mistakes, and that's basically going to be your best tool for learning. And I'm not saying like to share it with the world, but it is a good idea to try to share these videos with your alliance mates and ask some of your, I guess, veteran players to kind of look at them and, give you advice. I think that you can treat this like any sort of sport where you're reviewing film and call out your mistakes, learn from it, and it can be valuable so you prevent having those same mistakes in the future. Next thing I want to talk about is boosting. So you can see here, even in this one fight, I'm using lesser boosts, I'm using champion boosts. There's no reason, in my opinion, why you shouldn't be boosting for almost all of your fights. Even if it's just light boost and you're on a path and you feel that, oh, I've done this fight so many times that I don't need to boost. Uh, the thing about these wars is they come down to the slimmest of margins. And if you can spend a boost just one time to save a death, it's definitely worth it. Um, Also, the other boosts that we should call out here are the loyalty boosts. So you have invulnerability, you have advanced power start, and you have the regen boost. These are probably, in my opinion, the most powerful items in the game. And when they come in the loyalty store, you should always be stocked up. Now the 30 unit boosts, I think you should max out on those as well. And that's because those are the boosts that you're going to be using for lane clearing. And they're really relatively cheap. I'm not saying use big boosts all the time, and you probably don't need to. Save your big boosts for whenever you're, let's say, have 3 fights in a row, and you can clear an entire path. Or let's say you're going for a mini boss and a boss. That's probably the best time to use your big boosts. So that's my second point. Boost, boost, boost. Always do it. Trust me, if everybody in your alliance is on board for this, um, it'll win you matches. It'll make you place higher, and in the end, I mean that's what everybody's shooting for. Being in a team of 30 people, it takes a lot of communication and hard work, but if you're all on the same page, and boosting for all these fights, over the course of a season, it can save you a ton of deaths and basically just boost your placement. And another thing that's not really talked about with boosting, and it's kind of controversial because it doesn't take one of your item uses to use a boost. So you see like a lot of the top spending alliances, they're max boosting for every fight, so basically putting it on easy mode. And as I said before, you don't need to max boost for every fight, but even here, I mean, throwing in those loyalty boosts, I mean, they're probably uh, the biggest reason why I think I'm able to be successful in Alliance Wars. They give you such an advantage in no other game mode that you even see. So I wasn't really going to talk about any of the fights, but I see this one going on. I do remember this fight, and I threw in the region boost, and this was on the biohazard node. And against MODOK, I definitely underestimated his auto block, bringing in Blade. And that region boost definitely helped me, because you'll see I threw an L2 and get all these poisons on me. I am going to clean up this fight by the slimmest of margins, but uh, yeah, just right there, another one death luckily avoided. So, yeah, I think your loyalty is one of the best resources. If you have a lot of loyalty, there are definitely things to spend it on. And I even recommend using these daily alliance crystals. I mean, get yourself some boost this way. I mean, the drop rate isn't the highest, but it's definitely worth it. So, yeah, keep boosting. It doesn't cost you right now as an item use. Do it as much as you feel comfortable with, but again, the more the better. And the next point I want to make, and it might be pretty obvious to some of the higher tier players, but that is scouting your path. And what I mean by this is you should have a predetermined path before you go into each war. Not saying that's going to be the same path every time, but you should be able to see the types of defenders on the types of nodes that you're going to be fighting. So what I recommend doing before you select your attack team, and hopefully you're not selecting the same attack team every single time, is kind of seeing and making predictions based on the opponent's rosters. Now, this can be made difficult if you go run into like what some people call a barcode alliance, where all their usernames are fairly similar combinations of the letter I and L. But for the most part, I want to say 99% of alliances, you can try to narrow down at least the types of defenders you'll run against. And another tip for this is you can even look at the champions that your opponents may bring on offense. So if you notice they have a champion like a Medusa or a Magic that both, could either be on offense or defense, you can scout their attack team and see if they brought that champion. And if you determine that there's a matchup while you're scouting your path that you might have trouble with, my best suggestion is to duel. I mean, duel this champion. There are resources out there, DuelBot, where you can find highly ranked pretty much any champion in the game. You can kind of keep an inventory. I know that's what our alliance does. We have an inventory of summoners with highly ranked up champions that once we scout that might be the champion we come across, we can duel at any time. So I've done that plenty of times against troublesome defenders. Like I've done it against Killmonger, against Medusa. recently against Infinity War Iron Man. These are all the kind of troublesome attacker or defenders, excuse me, that you might run up against. And you saw right there, you can pull up your opponent's profile right before a fight as well, just to kind of check and see if their defender might be given away in their top 4. So again, it just comes down to scouting. I mean, information is key here, guys. The more information you have, the better you can prepare yourself for any fight you're going to take. It doesn't always come down. Skill is only part of this game. So it's kind of like practice. I mean, if you're practicing and improving with knowledge and also gameplay, you're putting yourself in the best possible position to succeed. And that's what it comes down to. Very few, if any, people are what I would call perfect at this game. But if you're able to constantly predict the opponents you're going to go up against, that helps you in the long run to be able to put yourself in the best position to succeed. And the last point I want to make here is being flexible. So that comes down to having a plethora or multitude of different attacking options. And not necessarily just attacking options, but options to, I guess, address multiple types of nodes. So don't always feel like you have to stay or are committed to being in the same lane every single war. So I like to say, don't stay in your lane, boy. While this is not necessarily true for all of the battle group or every single summoner, being able to be flexible allows your alliance, or at least specifically your one battle group, to kind of attack problem nodes or bosses with the best possible solution. So if you're scouting as an alliance, if you're coordinating attacks, and you have a lot of people with a lot of different attacking options, then you're able to kind of be kind of like a Swiss Army knife and approach every fight with the best possible option. So, I mean, not everybody has a 565 of every, top champion. Nobody has, more than 3 at the moment. I mean, nobody has a Blade, a Stark, a Magic, a Morningstar, a Luke Cage, Medusa, Void, Iceman. These are all like the top tier attacking options in Alliance War, in my opinion. And nobody really has every single one of them. It's just impossible to have all those options. So being able to be flexible in your attack plan and just be flexible in general on the paths you can take really can pay dividends for the success of an entire alliance. And what you've seen here in all these fights that kind of shown in this video, always bringing different attack options and on different lanes. I mean, the most part of this season I was not on the same lane pretty much the whole time, always remaining flexible, and I think that definitely led to some of the success I had as well. But anyways, that's all I have for this one. Hopefully this was informative, you liked it, you can take these tips to heart, and I think I'm going to let the rest of these fights play out just so you can get a little additional watching, but that's the end of my commentary. So again, thanks for watching, guys. Got another part of this coming later. Any suggestions you may have, please share them. Thanks again. Later.